Hi, it's Gary with Successful Gardens, and on this rainy spring day, I'm going to show you a simple way that you can actually use less potting soil when you are making a planter for your front doorstep. It's actually really simple and really easy to do. And the good thing about it is you're actually recycling some plastic bottles in the process. One of the hardest things to do is to find the right container. But with this one, this was a nice container that my wife had liked. We have about 3 or 4 of these, and she liked the color scheme, so we're going to go with these pots this year. Now, this is a plastic pot, but as you can see, there's not any drainage holes. And with any container that you plant up, it is most important that you have drainage. Your plants don't like to go swimming. It says right here, it says punch out for drainage. You can use a screwdriver. However, I have seen many plastic pots broken when using a punch or a screwdriver to do that. So I like to use a simple drill. So I will just follow those spots right there. And that's going to be good drainage. Now, I don't just trust the amount of drainage coming from those 2 holes, so I'm going to add 2 more holes. How simple is that when working with plastic? One of the simplest ways to save space is reducing the amount of potting soil that you need in here. So how do you do that in a long or a deep pot like this? The simplest way is to fill up the bottom with something else. I'm choosing water bottles, pop bottles, and even a water jug or a milk container like this. So I'm recycling or reusing these plastic bottles to fill up this space. Depending on what plants you're planting in your container, it makes a difference on how deep or how full you can fill it with other plants. I'm just using some simple annuals in this container, so I filled the bottom of my pot up about 1/3 to half the way full just with plastic bottles. So I'm reducing that amount of space that is going to be needed. Now, one thing about doing that, though, you want to be careful. If you have a larger pot, or if you're using planters or plants that are in a high wind area and have a possibility of tipping over, you would want to make sure that you put like a brick or something else in the bottom of this to weight it down, since you're reducing the amount of potting soil, which then when it would absorb water, would add the weight to keep your pot in a stable or weighted down situation. But with the plants that I'm using, I'm not going to have any high profiles in this one, so I am very comfortable in having this amount of soil or plastic filling up the bottom of this pot. You can just go ahead and add potting soil just directly to the top of this, but then you're going to get potting soil that seeps down the sides, and you're going to get some settling, and that might be that should be fine in some of your aspects. But one way to help create, there again, reducing the amount of potting soil that you're going to use in this planter by preventing any seepage down there, is all you would need to do is take a newspaper and create a false bottom on top of the plastic, and that's going to help reduce any of the soil from going down the sides. Now I'm going to try to manipulate this to where the sides are kind of covered and stopping any of the sides there. Now when using a potting soil, you want to use a good potting soil that is meant for containers. You never want to use dirt or regular soil that you get out of the garden. You want to have something that's really good. I prefer planting with this Fertilome high performance container mix. It has a slow release fertilizer in there, but I always supplement fertilizers when I'm feeding my plants too. But it contains a good mixture of peat moss, some perlite in there, and of course the fertilizer that's in there. So as you get ready to do that, all you need to do is then just pour in the amount of potting soil that you're going to need. As you can see, the weight has started to distribute from the sides, so there's going to be some that leaks down to the sides, and that's fine. That is fine, but all that volume that you have done to reduce that is going to save you time and money on the amount of potting soil that you use. I'm just going to scrunch it down a little, make sure I've got plenty of weight. Now, and then I'll go ahead and add a little more. Now, with this, if you're going to plant your small plants, whether they are petunias or alyssums or snapdragons or whatever you have in here, know what your root restrictions or requirements are going to be on your plants. That will also determine on if you can use that space or if you're going to need a full pot full of potting soil. But I'm going to turn this pot into instant color. I wish I could do it with the snap of the finger, but that would require some magic on my part too. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a simple step in turning a pot full of instant color, and that is by using a hanging basket. Now, this hanging basket has the alyssum, it has some calibrachoa in it, it has this new cool looking petunia, this two-tone petunia in there. With this hanging basket, all I have to do is find where these runners or these hangers are connected to the pot and disconnect them. I could take some wire cutters and just cut those, but what I actually like to do is I will save my pots year to year, depending on the quality of the pots. And this hanger is a nice rigid hanger too, so I want to save this pot plus this hanger, and I'll be able to reuse it next year if I choose to make a hanging basket on my own. So now, as I have taken these wire hanger out, at least disconnecting two of them, that allows me to open up the rest of this pot, and I can simply then take this pot, I'll tip it upside down, carefully dump the pot out, still carefully holding that pot. Now, you can see the root development already being really strong on this plant, and that's good. So now I have I can place that inside there. As you look, there's still about 2 inches all the way around that pot that I need to fill in. So I need to get the next bag of potting soil and carry on. And there we go. We have a pot, a planter that has drainage holes, reduced amount of soil in the bottom, saving you money on your potting soil. And we're recycling or reusing those plastic bottles. And here we have instant color. All right, there we had that pot. Planter turned into instant color. We saved the amount of potting soil that we were using. We saved space. We recycled some plastic bottles, or at least reused plastic bottles. And so saving money all the way around. Hopefully you found those steps helpful in helping you use less potting soil in your next container. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to Successful Gardens channel. Also, hit that like button to tell me that you liked this video and you found it helpful. What are some of your favorite flowers to plant or grow in containers? Until next time, this is Gary with Successful Gardens, and remember, let's get growing.